Good morning, class 10 students. I welcome you all on this online digital learning platform provided by Jagrati Classes. Now, today what we are going to start is our chapter 3rd, that is metals and non-metals. Okay, this is the third chapter of class 10th. So this is our first class for this chapter 3rd, metals and non-metals. So what do you understand by the term metal and what do you know about non-metals? How can you say that a given substance is a metal or a non-metal? Let's see. For knowing metals and non-metals, you should know their different properties. What are the different properties of metals and non-metals? So we'll deal with two properties, okay, the two types of properties. First would be our physical properties, that is what are the physical properties of metals, what are the different physical properties of non-metals, and then we would look on to the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So let's start our today's class. First what we are discussing is, we are discussing the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Physical properties. I have told you many times, still now telling, what do you mean by physical properties? Those properties which you can identify by a change in color or a change in smell. ऐसी properties जिनमें change हम देखकर पता लगा सकते हैं, that properties are called physical properties. Physical properties means a change in the physical state of the substance, or you can say a change in taste of the substance, or the change in the smell, or the change in appearance. Okay, appearance means shape and size. If these changes which you can identify by just looking to the substance, then these changes are called what? Physical change or physical properties. So these are the physical parameters on which the physical properties are decided. Now, let's now start the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Because physical properties देखने के बाद हम decide कर पाएंगे that the given substance, the substance which we are given with or provided with is a metal or a non-metal. So our first property of metal is that metals are those substances which have shine, and the property to shine or glow is called luster. So we say that metals have luster. Luster means they can shine, they have a shiny surface or a glowing surface. So this is what do you mean by the term luster. So metals have luster on their surface, that is they are shiny in appearance. But for non-metals, what is the first property? That they do not have a luster. We can write non-metals, they are non-lustrous. Non-lustrous means they do not have a shiny surface, that is they don't shine. So this was the first differentiating property between metals and non-metals. If you are given any substance, then you can say if the substance has a shiny surface, then it would probably be a metal, and if it has a dull surface or a non-shiny surface, then it is a non-metal. Remember my words, these physical properties, the difference which we are discussing are only the general properties. It is not necessary that a substance is a metal and it follows all the properties. No, if it follows 2 or 3 properties, then we keep it in the category of metals. Okay, so these are the general properties. We will discuss many exceptions with the properties, like the first exception would be what? The first exception would be, I wrote that non-metals, they are non-lustrous, they do not have a shiny surface, their surface is dull. But for exception, okay, diamond is a non-metal. We keep diamond in the category of non-metals, but diamond is shiny. You all know that diamond is shiny, but because it obeys all other properties of non-metals, we are keeping diamond in the category of non-metals. So this is our first exception. Exception का मतलब जिस group की सारी properties को जो element follow नहीं करता, it is called the exception, जो थोड़ा सा different है. So for the first property, we have the exception diamond. Okay. Next exception is iodine. Iodine is also a non-metal, but it is shiny. It has a glowy appearance. But because iodine follows the remaining other non-metallic properties, so it is a non-metal with a shine. Okay. Then the next property, the second property which we would discuss is metals are sonorous. Remember the important words. You could be asked in exam to define in these short questions, what do you mean by luster? So luster means shine, shiny surface. Then you could be asked, what do you mean by sonorous? Sonorous means these metals, when, let's suppose this is a metallic pen. It is not. I am saying let's suppose, okay? If I have a metallic object in my hand and if I beat the pen or hit it with a surface, a hard surface, then it would provide a metallic sound. मंदिरों में जो घंटी होती है, it is made up of metals, and when you blow it, okay, then it produces a different metallic sound. So we say that metals are sonorous. Sonorous means metals on striking with a hard surface produces a loud sound. Okay? A distinctive sound is produced when a metal is hit or struck onto a hard surface. So this means sonorous. Whereas these non-metals, they are not sonorous in nature. These are not sonorous. Sonorous means same. Non-metals on striking with a hard surface do not produce a characteristic sound. So these are not sonorous. Okay. Now the third property. We have discussed luster, we have discussed sonorous. The third property of metals, and here we would write what? Non-metals. We have discussed the two properties. Now moving on to the third property. The third property of metals, they are malleable. Again, the important new word is malleable. Metals are malleable, whereas non-metals, these are non-malleable in nature. Then what do you here mean by the term malleable and non-malleable? Malleable means these can be drawn into the sheets. That is, metal can be drawn into sheets, okay, by hammering them. So malleable means if you have a piece of matter and if you strike it with the hammer, then its thickness would reduce and you can make the metals in the shape of a paper. If you remember in class 9th, you have studied Rutherford's gold foil experiment. In that experiment, this malleable property was used. What did Rutherford do? He took a gold foil. Why did he choose a gold foil? Because he wanted a really fine or a thin sheet of the metal. So he chose a metallic foil or a gold foil because it can be drawn into a very thin sheet, more thinner than the sheet of paper. So these metals are called malleable. Okay, remember here you should remember. For this you should remember the gold foil experiment of Rutherford. If you do not remember, you may consult class 9 books. Here it is given that Rutherford was a scientist. To give the structure of atom, he used a gold foil sheet. He chose gold because he wanted a really fine sheet of paper-like sheet or more thinner than paper. So, and here non-metals are non-malleable. They cannot be drawn into sheets. If you try to hammer them, they would break off. The next property would be our fourth property, that metals are ductile. Metals are ductile. And here non-metals are non-ductile. Okay? What does the word ductile means? Ductile means metals can be drawn into wires. And an interesting example is present, that is gold. Gold is an interesting example. It is said that if you have 1 gram of gold, then you can make a thin wire which is of the length of 2 kilometers. So 1 ग्राम गोल्ड से आप बहुत थिन वायर बना सकते हैं and its maximum length would be 2 kilometers. It's a very good length. So gold shows high ductility. Okay, gold can be composed into very thin wire and non-metals are non-ductile. What do you mean by non-ductile? Non-ductile is that they cannot be drawn into wires. Do not get confused in malleable and ductile. Remember, ductile starts from the word D, and here what we have is D. So ductile means drawn into wires, okay? And malleable means, I'll not write drawn here now. For malleable you can write which can be made into sheets. Remember the two things, two phrases you should remember, drawn into wires and made into sheets. So here M and M. Malleable starts with the word M and our phrase made into sheets also starts with M. So repeat after me, what do you mean by malleable? Malleable means which can be made into sheets. Malleable का मतलब made into sheets. Okay? And again repeat after me, the word ductile. Ductile means drawn into wires. Ductile means drawn into wires. And now revise everywhere this concept and remember it. Okay? Malleable made into sheets, ductile drawn into wires. Now we are moving on to our next, that is the fifth property. Fifth property is metals they generally have high melting and boiling point. They have high melting point and high boiling point. But here non-metals, they have low melting and boiling points. This is the next difference. Okay? Metals have high melting and boiling point, whereas non-metals have low melting and boiling point. But everywhere exceptions come. Exception matlab सारे metals का लगभग melting boiling point would be high. But we have an exception here, gallium. Okay? The melting and boiling point of gallium is very low. It is extremely low. If you take gallium in your hand, it would vaporize. Okay? It will trap all your body heat and convert into vapors. So this is the exception. And here metals, non-metals have low melting and boiling point. The exception is diamond. Diamond has a very high melting boiling point. So this is again an exception of melting and boiling point. I hope you understood all these points. Okay? Then we have that. This would be now which point? Sixth point. This would be our sixth point of discussion of the difference between metals and non-metals. Now here the sixth point would be what? Metals are present in the form of, or we should write, they have high density. Metals have very high density. And generally non-metals have a low density. Okay? But again the exception here comes diamond. Diamond is highly dense. Then we have that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. While these non-metals, they are poor conductors. Non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity both. Metals are the good conductors and non-metals are poor conductors of electricity. Again we have an exception of non-metal, that is graphite. Graphite is made up of carbon. Remember, carbon is a non-metal and graphite is a allotrope of carbon. we would discuss the allotropes of carbon in the next chapter. Okay, carbon and its compounds. अभी तक हम ये समझें कि allotropes मतलब those substances which are made from the same component, that is carbon, but the arrangement of carbon is different. The allotropes of carbon, carbon has 3 allotropes. One is graphite, one is diamond, and the next is Buckminster fullerenes, or commonly called fullerenes. These all 3 allotropes are made up of carbon itself. Then what is the difference? The arrangement of carbon atoms in the structure varies. In graphite, only 4 carbon atoms are present. In diamond and Buckminster fullerene, in the fullerenes, we have 60 to 70 carbon atoms in the shape of a football. Okay? So we will discuss this topic, allotropes, in the next chapter. Till now, we should know that non-metals are generally poor conductors, but the exception is graphite. Graphite is a good conductor of heat and electricity. Graphite is made up of carbon. Carbon is a non-metal, so it should be poor conductors, but it is a good conductor. Now the next property, that is 8th. Metal generally exist in solid state. These are generally in the form of solid. But here non-metals. Non-metals exist in all 3 forms. That is, they exist as solid, or they may be a liquid, or they would be a gas. So metals are only present in solid. The exception is what? The exception is mercury. Mercury is denoted by the symbol Hg. All metals are solid except mercury. Mercury is a liquid at room temperature. Okay? Have you seen mercury anywhere? Yes, you might have observed it in the thermometers which we use to check our temperatures. There mercury is filled in the thermometers, and this mercury is present in the form of liquid. It is not solid, it is in the liquid form at room temperature. Non-metals exist as solid, liquid and gas. Remember one non-metal, that is bromine. Only bromine is liquid at room temperature. Bromine is a non-metal which is liquid at room temperature. For the gases, you can have carbon dioxide, oxygen, chlorine exists as a gas. Okay? So these are the non-metals which are in gaseous state at room temperatures. And for the solid state, you can have carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, etc. So these are the non-metals which exist in solid state. So you can see that metals are only present in solid state. They do not generally exhibit liquid and gaseous states. Only one metal is there, which is mercury. This mercury is present in liquid state at room temperature. But in non-metals, we have 3 kinds of states, that is solid, liquid and gas. For gases, you can see chlorine. Okay, chlorine, oxygen, everything exists in the form of gaseous state. Then in the liquid is an important example, that is bromine. Bromine is present in liquid state. Bromine is a non-metal which is liquid. And for solid, you can have many non-metals, that is carbon, phosphorus and sulfur. Okay, then these are the points which are given in your books, but it is quite scattered. So I am just explaining it in the form of points, so you can easily understand and learn the points. It would be easy for you to make the notes also. Okay, you can make the notes simultaneously with me. Make it in the form of table, write all the properties, write their meaning, and then write the exceptions. Examples we'll discuss later. First you write the exceptions which are shown by metals and non-metals in the different properties. So we have discussed metals have luster, metals are ductile, they are malleable, sonorous, they are good conductors. Then we saw that these exist in solid state, they have high density. We have also discussed that mercury is the exception. One more point, if you can write that the metals have generally golden or silver color. The metals are generally golden yellow or they are silvery grey in color. These are the general colors exhibited by metals. But for non-metals, what do we have as our 9th point? They show a variety of colors. Non-metals do not have any fixed color. They show a variety of colors in them. So these are the points of comparison of metals and non-metals. I hope you understood this. A question is also asked that why the cooking vessels are made up of metals and not non-metals. A question is asked that why these cooking vessels are made up of metals and not non-metals. This is also an activity given to show that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. You can see that if the cooking vessel, if I coat a non-metallic layer on this, okay, I am coating a non-metallic layer, and I have the next cooking vessel on the bottom of which I am coating a metallic layer. So what would be the problem? What would be the difference? एक cooking vessel पे we have the non-metallic layer, and on the next I have metallic coating. Would there be any trouble or any problem? Yes. Metals, as we discussed now, are good conductors of heat and electricity. Good conductors, you all have studied in your junior classes. What do you understand? Good conductors are those substances which allow heat and light to pass through them. Okay? So here, if I heat this vessel, then this coating is of metal. So this coating will allow my heat to pass through the vessel, and in turn the food kept in my vessel will become hot. But if I have a non-metallic layer or a non-metallic coating, if I provide the heat, then what would happen? This heat will not be able to pass through this coating because it is made up of non-metal. Non-metal we have discussed, they are poor conductors. Poor ka matlab they do not allow the light and heat to pass through them. They do not allow the heat to pass. So this heat of the burner will not reach our food, and in turn our food will remain cold. So what would be the advantage? That's why we do not use non-metallic layer on the cooking vessels or the cooking utensils. So this was one question, and I think I have discussed all the points, and this covers approx 1/3 of your unit. These were the physical properties. These are given in the form of many activities and examples in your books. Better read the NCERT once, go through the introduction, and then make notes in the form of a difference column between the physical properties of metals and that of non-metals. So this, I think, would be more easier to you to learn the concepts and understand them. Okay, now we'll discuss the chemical properties. Now moving on to the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. These were the physical properties, the part first. Now I am coming to the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. I hope you have understood all the physical properties of metals and non-metals which we have discussed still, okay, till now what we have seen. If you have any doubt regarding any question given in your books or any additional extra questions, you can contact me anytime, okay, but clear your doubts, clear all your concepts and learn them. Now we are discussing the chemical properties. Again the chemical properties, some basic properties I'll make you in the form of a differentiating chart. So let's start. We have a metal here, and the next column is of non-metals. So metals and non-metals, we are seeing their chemical properties. The first chemical property is what? These metals, I'll first write a general, okay? I am again saying metals are the compounds which generally have 1, 2 or 3 valence electrons. Now again a new term arises, valence electron. It is not that new. If you remember your class 9th concepts where you learn to make the formulas using the symbols and their valencies. What does the term valency mean? The number of electrons in the outermost shell. So these valence electrons means, valence electron mean number of electrons in the outermost shell. Okay, these are called valence electron. If you remember it, I'll give you a rough idea about these, and we'll study the valence electrons in detail in the next chapter, which is carbon and its compounds. Here now only giving you a rough idea. Let's suppose to draw the structure of any given atom. What you draw a nucleus here. This you have already done in your class 9th in the Bohr model of an atom. We draw a center dot, that is our nucleus. Then we draw different shells around the nucleus. Okay, and we name the shells. The first shell is called K shell. Next one is L shell. It is M shell. And if one more shell you have, then it would be which? N shell. K shell is the first shell, that is the number is 1, n equals to 1. We count the shells from the which is nearer to the nucleus. The first shell which is nearest to the nucleus is called the K shell, and respectively they are known as L, M and N shells. I hope you have now recalled what you studied in 9th standard. So these are the different types of shells. And if I say, let's suppose I have an atom which is sodium. Okay, the electronic configuration of sodium, that is its atomic number is 11. And if I arrange these, atomic number means number of electrons. So sodium has 11 electrons. If I try to arrange these 11 electrons, what I would get is, I would get in the K shell I will have 2 electrons. In the L shell I will have 8 electrons. 8 and 2 make 10. One more electron is left, so I will have a M shell in which I will have one more electron. If you are not getting these concepts, do not worry. We will discuss whole of the concept in big detail in the next unit. Here I am only giving an idea about, because we are discussing what do you mean by valence electrons. In the next subsequent points, we will see that they can easily give one electron to have stability. So for that purpose, I am explaining the point of valence electrons here. Sodium had 11 electrons. For the 11 electrons, you know, K shell में maximum electrons which can come are 2. In the K shell, we can have a maximum of 2 electrons. And in the remaining shell, L, M, N, etc., we can have a maximum of 8 electrons. So for arranging these electrons, how do we arrange them? We get 2 electrons in the K shell. I am representing the electrons with a dot. So these would be the 2 electrons in the K shell. And now the remaining 8 electrons I would have in the L shell. So let's make 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So these L shell is occupied by 8 electrons. Now 8 plus 2 gives us 10. But we have to arrange 11 electrons. So then the remaining 1 electron will go into which shell? In the M shell. So this 1 electron is present in the M shell. And now for attaining stability, you know the octet rule. Octet rule here states that for stability, the outermost electron or the electronic configuration should end with 8. So here, for making it stable according to octet rule, we have to remove this additional electron in the M shell. If anyhow I remove this electron, then I would get Na plus. The species जिससे electron जो lose कर देता है, it gets a plus charge because electrons are negatively charged, and once a negative charge is lost, we get a 1 plus. So Na becomes plus 1, and the configuration of Na plus is what? It is 2, 8. The 1 electron which was present earlier in the M shell is lost away. So we have the configuration 2, 8. So this Na, sodium, behaves as a metal. So we will now study the different properties. Okay. Now again I am starting with the chemical properties only, and we are discussing the properties in different points of the metals and the non-metals. So the first property which I already discussed, that I am again saying this is a general property. Generally the number of valence electrons in a metal is 1, 2 or 3. Okay, it is not that the compounds having 4 valence electrons or 5 will not be metal. No, they may be metal. This is a general property of metals. Similarly, for non-metals, the classification which we have is when the valence electron in any element is either 5, 6 or 7, we say that it may be a non-metal. So the first difference is based on valence electron. Okay. The second difference would be what? These are electropositive in nature. Metals are generally electropositive in nature. You just saw sodium, Na. Na, for gaining stability, what did Na do? Na lost its one electron, which was providing it an instability factor, and it became Na+, so it gained a positive charge. So we are saying metals are generally electropositive. Okay, remember the example of metals, that is sodium, Na, and for stability it becomes Na+. So it gets a positive charge, we write it is electropositive. Or we can say that metals have a tendency to form cations. That is, metals generally exist in the form of cations. Cations are what? Cations are positively charged species. Those ions which have a positive charge on them are called cations. Okay? And the reverse of this, if metals behave as electropositive, the non-metals behave as electronegative components. Non-metals are electronegative in nature. Electronegative in nature. The third point, that was on in metals, metals have a tendency to form cations, okay, because they try to donate their electrons, gain a positive charge and become stable. But while discussing for non-metals, they possess a tendency to form anions. That is, for stability, they acquire electron, they gain electron, and after gaining electron, they become negatively charged. And the negatively charged ions are called anions. The positively charged ions are called cations, and the negative ions are known as anions. So these are the two different types of properties which are exhibited by metals and non-metals. Now, for example, we can take here only example of non-metal. Just now I have discussed non-metal like bromine exists. Bromine is a non-metal. It exists in liquid form. I am taking here chlorine. Okay, Cl. The electronic configuration, atomic number of chlorine is 17. Arrange these 17 electrons in the form of 2, 8, 8, 8, 8, etc. What you get? In the K shell you have 2 electrons. Then in the next shell you would have 8 electrons. Remember, K has only 2 seats. It can only take up 2 electrons, and the remaining shells can have a maximum of 8 electrons. So these 2 electrons are filled in K shell. Then you have in the L shell 8 electrons. 8 plus 2 gives 10, and 17 minus 10 means 7 electrons are still left. So these 7 electrons would be present in what? M shell. So now you see, according to octet rule, the outermost shell should have how many electrons? 8. According to octet rule, if 8 electrons are present in the outermost shell, then the species would be stable. But here you see only 7 electrons are present. So what does the metal do? What does this chlorine non-metal do? It takes the 1 electron which is expelled out by the sodium. We have just now discussed that sodium, to gain stability, it releases 1 electron. And this 1 electron comes to chlorine. Now this chlorine takes up 1 electron, and when it takes up an electron is what? Electron is a negatively charged ions. When someone is taking negative charge, then it would have a negative charge on itself. Then Cl becomes Cl minus. Minus का मतलब it has taken electron. Minus लगा रहे हैं because Cl has taken an electron and electron has a negative charge. So if someone is gaining a negatively charged species, it becomes Cl negative. And this negatively charged ion is called anion. So Cl forms a chloride anion. Okay? So, and when Na gives electron, Cl accepts it, then what does the compound form? We have NaCl formed here, that is sodium chloride. So these were the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Then we have our last property, that is the oxides of metal. Metal oxides are what? They are basic in nature, while the non-metallic oxides are acidic. They show a acidic nature. Okay, now we'll just see one example of this and end our class. Metal oxide. We are taking metal NaO. This is a Na2O, metal oxide. Okay. Now, when it reacts with water, it forms sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas is released. So when the metal oxides reacts with water in the aqueous medium, it gives hydroxide, and hydroxide has OH. If you have discussed or learned the chapter of acid and bases, then you should know OH shows which character? Basic. Because of the presence of OH, hydroxide ions, the metal oxide behaves as bases, whereas for non-metallic oxides, okay, let's suppose we have a non-metal, let's suppose we take, or I take carbon, and oxide of carbon would be CO2. Then when this reacts with water, okay, then it releases what? Hydrogen gas is released and it forms carbonate or carbon dioxide. On reaction, it forms carbonic acid, H2CO3. This is what? This is carbonic acid. And this carbonic acid is acidic in nature. So the non-metallic oxides behave as acids. This was a short example for this. Now we'll continue the more detailed physical, and not the physical, only the detailed chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Okay, we'll continue in the subsequent lectures. But I hope that today's class about the physical properties and their some differentiating chemical properties are clear to you. I hope you'll revise the concepts and come tomorrow, join the class tomorrow. Thank you for joining.